Hi, this is Jeremy Katz for Ogilvy TV. We're here with Bennett Porter and Thomas Crampton. Bennett is the Vice President of Marketing and Communications for SurveyMonkey, and Thomas Crampton leads social at Ogilvy globally. And they've just published a large research project, which they're debuting here at Cannes. So we thought we'd take a few minutes in this lovely location to ask them about the highlights. You've been doing tons of media this past week because there's been tremendous interest in the survey. So I was wondering if you could really get into it just right away. It seems fascinating to me that that brands are breaking down the wall between content and branded content. So are you finding that that's true globally with social?
Yes, absolutely. And what they're trying to do is brands are trying to figure out how they can engage with consumers and what content means. And that's really what this survey was all about. We spoke or connected with 6,500 people in 16 different markets globally. To understand why they engage, what they talk about, why they talk about it. And it's an area that we had seen very little research in, which is what inspired us to collaborate on this research.
What we realized was there was a lot of information about the growing number of people on social, and a lot of sort of demographic or inferred data, implicit data. And what we decided to do was to do a survey to figure out exactly what the why was, why people were sharing, how did they feel when they shared, and that way to give marketers a better idea of what to do in terms of when they think about their social strategies globally.
Now, you said what people feel. So what do they feel when they share? Is it global? Is it local?
Yeah, it's interesting. We came up with sort of a profile of the global profile of sharers online, which gives you a combination of entertainment and informational / educational content is something they like. And there's a few other sort of broad generalizations that you can make about content. At the end of the day, however, what we found also was that it varies quite a bit according to region, an emergent market versus a more mature market, and that can change the sort of things that they are interested in and will share.
So, for example, another difference that was really interesting was the fact that people mostly share useful or informational content, but what gets the most reaction online is funny or entertainment. Or entertaining content. So this idea of being able to combine both in a sweet spot of edutainment would cut across both borders. And then what was interesting is once we had this global profile was where were the outliers. So for example, the content in Turkey, which may be a sign of the times that was getting the most comments, is not funny, but political in nature.
Ah. I noticed that neither one of you used the word viral just then. Is there a reason?
Viral should never be your goal. I mean, this is what we've created is a content cookbook. What this is a study looking at why people are sharing, where they're sharing, and how we can hit that sweet spot. The goal is never to make something viral. In and of itself, there's no value in that. What brands need to do is make something that is true to their brand DNA and builds on a strategy in a very explicit way, not something that is randomly viral for some strange reason.
Now, is there any perception that the consumer has that a piece of content is coming from a brand or coming from a different editorial source or coming from a friend? And does that even matter when you're looking at social sharing across the globe?
What was really interesting to see was the fact that we looked at content sources and whether that made a big difference, right? So were you more willing to share a piece of content from an established media source or from a friend or from a brand? What was interesting is more than not, people were more interested in sharing something from a friend, and they actually didn't care the source of the content as long as it was informational or entertaining. So that's a huge difference. So that means that your friend is just as important as the New York Times or the BBC.
Which to brands is an advantage, to traditional media is less so.
Yes.
Which is to say that traditional media did not feature in the way that you would have thought it would, but brands have that opportunity to appear. And in fact, Coca-Cola was one of the biggest brands appearing throughout. Showing that they have figured out how to engage people.
We asked an open-ended question, which is name an organization or a company that's creating great content. And there were very few brands that actually appeared across all 16 countries. Coke was one of them, so Coke beat Pepsi. Samsung beat Sony. Nike beat Adidas. And what was also interesting was a lot of the technology companies where the content is housed, i.e. Facebook, YouTube, Google, actually got credit for the content that was appearing on the site. So they were named as great content creators, and we know actually, in terms of the amount of content YouTube's creating, is not enough to actually get enough credit for that final click.
So you used an interesting phrase just now. You talked about a content cookbook. What are then the creative implications of this work for brands as they try to do better content across the world?
Well, the most important thing is that the era of taking a tagline, translating it, and switching the celebrity is absolutely has to be over. Because the ways in which brands can engage with people, and really engagement is really the important measure here, has changed from one market to another. Every country has further element of, is it educational, is it more entertaining? It is much more of a nuanced approach that brands are going to have to take if they really want to have content that engages people.
One of the phrases that gets thrown around a lot is the idea of global marketing, global brand platforms and localization. Did you find that that's an appropriate strategy in social?
That would work because what you're doing there is you're having what your brand stands for and then finding the right adaptation of that to speak to consumers in a given market.
The research is published now. Is there another phase of research coming, or is this what we should look for from the two of you for the next foreseeable future?
No, this is what we've done with this. Is the first piece of research in this zone that we have found. And really it's an exercise in benchmarking. Now we can see how we can either get deeper nuances into the findings that we've had, some of them very interesting, and also see going forward how the market evolves, how people evolve in terms of their relationship to content.
One final question. Do you think that if you did this research 5 years from now, we'd have a completely different perspective? Or do you think that these are sort of fundamental social rules that will keep the world going for the next while?
I think if we do this research 5 months from now, we'll have different answers and different insights to share with folks, because the rapidity of the changing marketplace is one that before was hard to actually benchmark and do research on, but nowadays with the technology available, it's quite easy. So we're excited to continue this and to see where it takes us quarter by quarter.
Great. Excellent.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time. Enjoy the beach. And this is Ogilvy TV. Thank you for watching.